Hi, good evening there. Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, Lorraine. Have we met before?
I don't think so. I actually seem to have ended up on this list. There was an announcement a couple of months ago about the local disaster preparedness, and I signed up for it. And so now you've got me on the list, which is I'm in the Manning Boulevard Neighborhood Association.
Great. So you you know the Hansons?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Okay. I work with Phil Hansen at Heslin, Rothenberg, Farley, and Mesiti.
Oh, cool. Well, that's
Yep.
good. Yep.
Actually, his
Okay.
office is right next to me, next to me.
Okay.
So
That's good. That's good. That's good. So when I could come, last time I couldn't come, but I'm trying to come, and then I try to pass a few things. I pass some of the information about the Red Cross and speakers, because Diane and I occasionally talk about Zoom things, and I live on Zoom, so
great. Well,
just
welcome.
just natural.
Well, welcome to the meeting. It's nice to have you. Appreciate it.
You faded away.
Oh, nice to have you join us. I appreciate it. Okay. Officer Wallace, how are you? We have the Guzaiches. Got Peg Harrigan. Hi, Peg.
Hi, Zach.
How are you?
Eating a cookie. Hi, everybody.
What kind of cookie are you eating?
Like a social tea, a little sweet little cookie, easy to eat. Not too.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Zach, and I hope you are doing the same.
I am. I sent out that alert to the neighborhoods.
Yeah, thank you for that, Zach. That's very helpful. We have the city of Albany has a population particularly at risk for that disease, although it covers a lot of different ethnic groups, really. So it's very important that we try to reach out to them in particular, but it goes much broader, obviously. So thank you for your support. It really is very helpful and very much appreciated.
Yeah, and definitely Kano will participate in the community event.
Great.
Scott. Hey, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Zach.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, Kelly.
No problem.
Hey, Zach. Hey, everybody.
Ray Cardona. Hi, Ray. Officer Biet. Is that Officer Biet coming on?
Hey, Zach, how are you? I won't have video tonight. I didn't have my laptop with me. I apologize.
Hey, no, that's okay. Thanks for coming. We've got Lan Ying. Hi, Lan Ying.
Hi,
How are you?
good. Thank you.
Good seeing you again. We have Mr. Moeller. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Hi. Have we met before?
Yeah, Tom Muller, how you doing?
Oh, hey, what's going on? Good to see
So
you.
my video is not working at the moment, but I wanted to make sure I got on and see what's going on in the neighborhood.
Thanks a lot. No, this is great. Scott, we'll just give it a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly, when's the next Beverwick meeting?
Let's see, I can tell you. Tuesday, February 9th, 7 o'clock.
Lieutenant McDade, how are you, sir? Thanks. Good to see you.
I'm doing good, Jack. How are you?
Hyde. Hey, Hyde. And let's see who else we got. I know Pat Doyle from Melrose said she couldn't make it tonight, so. Hey, Scott, why don't you go ahead and get started? Thanks everybody for coming tonight to Uptown Neighborhood Cooperative Meeting. It's Thursday, January 21st, 2021. It's good seeing everybody. Been a pretty good week here. And we have Scott Jarzambek. He is the Executive Director of the Albany Public Library here to present to us tonight. So, Scott, why don't you go ahead and get started?
Thanks, Zach. And Zach, I got to say, that was the best pronunciation of my last name from any neighborhood association. You nailed it. So thank you, because I know it's not easy. So I'm Scott Jarzambek. If you don't know me, I'm the executive director of the Albany Public Library. You may also see me walking through your neighborhood with a small black dog. Your neighborhood is relatively close to us, and Ripley and I like to walk through the area. And that's how I figured out about the neighborhood association, because I saw one of your lawn signs and took a picture of it and said, "Oh my God, this is another neighborhood association to contact." So thank you for having me. How long has this neighborhood association been established? How long have you been established?
So Scott, well, it's not a neighborhood association. It's a community collaborative. It started out as 3 neighborhoods. It started out kind of the neighborhood watch, and then we kind of changed the concept to more of a neighborhood cooperative back in May. So it's coming up about 8 months.
Fantastic.
8 months go live.
Thanks for having me. I hope
You're welcome
to come to future meetings. So I've been making the rounds to different neighborhood associations to just kind of talk about Albany's plan, Albany Public Library's plan, what we've done, the fact that we've kind of had to roll back a little bit, and then our plan going forward in the future. But I just want to start out with some numbers. Albany Public Library is still, even though we're only doing curbside service, we're still loaning out over 20,000 items a month. So we're still loaning out over 20,000 items a month. It's half of what we normally do, but still a significant amount. Now, some of that is digital, about half of that is digital, which has exploded since the beginning of the pandemic. But it's still pretty amazing considering that, 2 of our locations are completely closed, and that we've limited hours, and that we've limited the amount of material that's allowed to go out at once. We have probably about 2,000 people who are right now using the library to borrow material. So I keep hearing from people, we're closed. So one of my jobs is to really let you know we're not closed. Actually, curbside delivery takes about twice the manpower to do. You have to set appointments, you have to find the books, you have to package the books. And then we have a whole process. I actually got to watch it happen yesterday. We have a whole process in which it's very safe. Our staff wear PPE, there's social distancing. It's really a great scenario. Well, it's not a great scenario, but it's a professional scenario. I wish we weren't doing the scenario. Now, we're not doing any programming in person, but we're doing a lot of Zoom programming, and we have about 1,500 program participants a month. So again, it's a fraction of what we used to do, but considering the circumstances, we're still serving a significant amount of people. And that includes answering about 2,000 reference questions, either by phone or by email a month as well. So our libraries may seem like they're closed, and they are closed to the public, but the staff are there, and some staff are working from home, and I'll explain that a little bit. But they're still doing the work. They're still doing the library work. And honestly, operating a library during a pandemic takes a considerable more amount of time, manpower, and effort and planning. So it has not been an easy 10 months for my staff or for the leadership at the library. So we have since the beginning had a reopening plan, what we called our continuation of service plan. You have to remember the library closed in March. We actually had a closing plan in place in the beginning of March before a lot of people were really talking about the pandemic. We're lucky, some of our staff, myself included, we're adjunct professors with the School of Cyber Emergency Preparedness and Homeland Security over at SUNY Albany, which is a great program. Oddly enough, the library science program is a part of that program. So a bunch of us are adjunct professors with that program. And they were fantastic. Since January, they had been talking about this pandemic and the dangers of this pandemic. So we've actually had a continuation of service plan in place since February that we've updated every month, that we've put out press releases, that we've let people know. And we've taken a very scientific approach to reopening. People always ask me what the date is. Oh, well, when are you going to open the library back up? That's what I get asked when I'm walking the dog. And I look at them and I go, anybody who sets a date right now is setting themselves up for failure. So if you look on our website, you look at our continuation of service plan, which is a part of our pandemic operations plan, which is mandated by the state. We have a very clear line of when we're comfortable to open more and more services. So this summer, we got to about opening some of our locations up by appointment, and that went really, really well. But then the numbers spiked and we had to shut down operation. You have to remember that we're operating on something called redundancy scheduling. So I have one set of staff in 1 week and then other set of staff in the other week. That's why Washington Avenue and North Albany are closed. We just don't have enough staff. We do that and it's actually worked perfectly. Today we had to shut down our Bach branch due to exposure. But the good news is we can open back up Monday because there's another staff. We do a full cleaning and then another group of staff come in. And I explain this because it's redundancy scheduling. It makes sure that we can continue to operate even if we have positives, and we have had positives, sadly, with our staff. It also makes it so that we can reduce the amount of staff that are in the building. And that's a little bit safer. It's keeping people from being exposed. We have had no transmission between employees. All of our positive cases have come from outside of the library, which is sad, but we're proud of that. We'll see after this week if that's continued to be successful. So in our most recent pandemic operation plan, what we have done is we've set a couple markers, and it's, again, we're following what we're reading from scientific journals. I now know more about virology than I've ever known in my entire life. My facilities director and I know more about HVAC and airflow than I ever thought I would know in my life. So we're following all of kind of the published peer-reviewed scientific journals and information that's being provided to us to guide us along. So right now the threshold is 10%. If we hit 10% positive tests in our community, according to the WHO, that means we have uncontrolled spread, which means we're not gonna do curbside. We're gonna shut down completely. Luckily, we haven't reached that point. I'm hopeful we're not going to reach that point. The next number to look at, which is the number we're hoping to get to soon, is 6%. And this is actually a little bit of a higher threshold than we had this summer. At 6%, you will actually see 3 of our locations start to open up for by appointment service. That's kind of a threshold that's kind of an in-between number. There's no scientific reason behind 6%, just that's what we're comfortable in operating at. The next number that's important is 3%, which is identified by the WHO that your community has a significant amount of infection under control. When we hit 3%, we're off redundancy scheduling. You will actually start to see your branches open. And what we're going to do is control the amount of people in the building and the amount of time that they're allowed to spend in the building. The next number that's important to think about is 1%. Once we get below 1% positive tests, which is possible. I mean, we were close to that this summer. Once we get below 1%, then you'll actually start to see a little bit of normal library services come back. One thing that when we hit that 3% margin, not only will be allowing people in the building, but you'll start to see our in-person programming happening again. The difference will be we will be doing that programming outside and not inside of our building. There was just a great article in one of our field's journals, Library Journal, which talked about airflow. So one of our biggest concerns isn't people touching the books. It isn't necessarily people being in the building to grab material. Our biggest concern is airflow and the amount of time that people spend in our building. So that's why we're kind of setting these numbers. And I really am I was not very optimistic. I mean, Zach's been in meetings with me. I was not very optimistic 6-7 months ago. But my staff are a little surprised. I'm being a little bit more optimistic this go around. And I do think that we're going to be back to not a normal, but I think we're going to be back to what looks a little bit more like normal library operations sometime in the summer, sometime in the fall when we get below 1%. I do warn people that it's possible that the numbers go up again in the fall and we might see some pullback of library service. But I think for the most part, we're going to start to normalize, and maybe by the spring of 2022, the library will be back to the library that I love being in, that I love operating. But for right now, it's a scientific, we're taking a safe and scientific approach. I know that there are other libraries. I keep getting emails saying, well, this library is open, this library is open. We actually did an analysis of how people are open. There are libraries that are more open than we are. In other words, by appointment service. But the majority of libraries in Albany County specifically, 50% are doing curbside, and the majority of the rest are doing by appointment service. A few are restricting people. However, when you dig down and you look at zip codes and you look at the amount of infection in each zip code, we are taking a much safer approach. So yes, Scotticoke may be open, or Westerlo may be open, but they have considerably less amount of infection going on in their community. My goal is to get the library open, but my goal is to do it safely, to protect my staff and to protect the patrons, because we don't want to be somewhere where someone gets sick. We can't guarantee you won't, but it's really important to us that we've moved this forward. For you to understand one thing, we're overseen by a governing board of trustees. They vote on this. All of this is vetted through them. We're lucky. We have, it's a very Albany board. We've got a scientist and someone with their doctorate in public health. So we're really lucky to kind of have this governance board that really helps us make these decisions. But if I really ask you to look at our pandemic operation plan on our website, and also invite you to go, if you're really interested in how the sausage is made, our board meetings are on our YouTube channel, and we go through sometimes we go through line by line the changes we make to the continuation of service plan and why we're doing that. So how can you help the library? Well, you know what? You can borrow books. You can sign up for one of our Zoom programs. You can be engaged. Our friends are doing their Tuesday book talks through Zoom, and that's working out really well. If you don't want to participate at that time, go to our YouTube channel. We have programs there. We have a really awesome podcast that we're doing. But I just want to reassure everybody that our libraries are operating. No, they're not operating the way they were before the pandemic, but nothing really is. But we will get to that normalcy at some point, or something that looks like that normalcy. It's really, I worked out of our Pine Hills branch yesterday because we were concerned about what was going on at the Capitol. We actually had our Washington Avenue branch shut down. And then we put in our emergency plan where we have walkie-talkies. Everybody gets ready to shut down buildings. So I worked out of a field office at our Pine Hills branch. All of the staff that I talked to while I was there, they want to get open. They want to serve the public. They miss the public, but they agree we need to do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my spiel.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Whoops. Hold on one second. My view changed here. Gallery view. Okay. Sorry, my gallery view. Does anybody have questions for Scott?
Hi.
Peg?
Hi, everybody. Peg Harrigan. Scott, thank you much for your presentation. I have a compliment and a question.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, good. I have become one of those e-readers since the pandemic, and Tuesday, to my chagrin, I went to borrow a book, and a thing came up about library card verification. And if you want to know, panic, it's a reader who cannot get his or her books, whether they're ebooks or other books. And all I could think of, these great books on hold coming due and never being able to. Well, the good news was, I get your newsletter, and I hadn't been that active a participant. I had been a taker rather than a giver, but I did get some numbers and some emails, and I sent them out. And it turned out it was a UHLS, Upper Hudson Library system problem. There had been an update in the computer, as I'm sure you know, Scott. I was not the only person, but the compliment is, I spoke with 3 different people. I spoke with Kevin, who I believe works at Delaware.
Yep.
I spoke with Robert, who I think was physically at Delaware. And I spoke with Ann, who came me back. And at different things, they were responsive. They explained what it was. And Ann went out of her way to say, oh, by the way, your card is due for renewal. It's due next month. Would you like to do it? And, the system got fixed, and that was just wonderful. But I cannot tell you what a great thing it was to, this is my library at work. This is why I support Albany Library and the Library Foundation. We are just so lucky to have it. So kudos to everybody for carrying on. Because I got to tell you, for a reader, and I'm sure many of the people here are readers, to have the idea that you're not going to be able to get your books, that's a very sad day. But the good news is Albany Public Library was there. Now, my next question. Has there been an increase in the library budget or a revision? How should I say? The budget is set, I know. Because the readership of ebooks has gone up, has there been an effort, or have the trustees or whomever makes these decisions been able to reallocate things so that the readership, whether it's kids or adults or whatever, have been able that the number of ebooks has increased? Or is that an Upper Hudson Library thing?
So that's a three-pronged question. The first answer is yes. So we have someone who's in charge of collection development. They came to me and they said, you need to make a budget modification. So my job is to figure out what the budget is and then bring it to the board and have the board approve it. And they actually changed the budget through the year. So very early in the pandemic, we actually raised our hands and we said, can we move money out of programming and can we move some money out of staffing? Because we're not going to use that money. Can we move that into ebook collection? And the board approved, and we're definitely buying more ebooks. And we also introduced a service called Hoopla, which not only you can borrow books from, but you can also get movies and music as well. So yes, the short answer is yes, we absolutely did that. We also get money from the state. So it's a good thing that we did. The state cut the budget significantly, and some of the ebook spending is from our state aid. So we actually had to pull back some of the spending on ebooks that was money from the state because they cut our budget. Like they've cut everybody's budget, which is understandable. But we kind of balanced that a little bit by spending more of our money on ebooks. But the issue we have now is the ebook collection is so well used that we can't keep up with demand. So that's one thing that we struggle with. But thank you about the staff, and I'm going to relay to my leadership team the compliment you gave, and thank you very much.
Zach?
Go ahead, Lanying.
Yeah, I want to second what Peg was saying about the good library services, and I'm a heavy user of the library before or after the close down. And my only comment is, Scott said this Hoopla I've been using from day one. It's just wonderful, but it's limited to 5 for a month. So I use it like the 5th day, and then I wait for 25 days for the next one. So
we have to do it because the service, unlike the other ebooks, are really expensive.
yeah,
$30 to $40 to purchase an ebook, and a lot of times we're only allowed to have that ebook. We buy a book for the shelf; it sits on the shelf forever. But ebooks, there's all different. It's either metered, which means only 30 people can borrow it, or we only have it for 2 years, or if it's a lifetime, it's very expensive. The problem with Hoopla is, unlike ebook, different from the model we get from our other ebook vendor, is we pay for each usage. So every time you borrow something through Hoopla, it costs us money, and it's very hard to budget. And I am my strong suit as a library director is in the financial part of running a library.
yeah.
So we've been really careful about budgeting and not going over budget. And that's why we have to set those restrictions on Hoopla. I know it's funny, a lot of our staff won't use Hoopla because they don't want to cost the library money.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad you're using us. I wish we didn't have to restrict.
Yeah, I figured it must be financial situation, but was this the 19 billion whatever deficit from the state probably only get worse.
Yeah, and right now libraries are we were prepared for a 20% cut. We're now only looking at a 5% cut, so it's gotten much better. But a significant amount of the state money doesn't go to us. We get a little check from the state. What it goes is to all of the consolidated services that are provided through the Upper Hudson Library System. So the fact that you can get a book from Bern is through the Upper Hudson Library System. They're the ones who get the predominant, most amount of the state aid. And that is going to be impacted in the next few years. We're looking at those impacts going forward. Another issue is what's called construction aid in the state budget. And this is grants that we apply for to keep our buildings up to date. And that's also been cut as well. So it's going to make things a little bit harder moving forward. We have beautiful buildings, but we have a lot of libraries for the city our size, which it makes it hard to run, but also it's, we want to stay on top of them. They're beautiful buildings. We're proud of how well we maintain them, but that's costly. That's where I'm really concerned when it comes to state aid, because some of the projects that we've done recently, like we repaved the Delaware Avenue branch, that was done with state aid money because we wouldn't have been able to afford that to do that on our own. Right now, we have to upgrade all of our HVAC systems, put in new filtration systems. This is not cheap. We're looking at standalone systems, and we're also looking at UV light, and all of that is expensive. So the next 2 years, the fact is we're closed. We're not making a lot of revenue. We're not selling bus passes. We're, all the things that make us money. We're not doing that. So we have a revenue shortfall. The majority of our budget comes from taxes, but we have pilot payments, and those pilot payments are coming in shorter. So like every organization, like the city, like the school district, we're going to have to get very creative in our budgeting moving forward in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, Scott.
Yes.
Oh, first I'll piggyback on what Peg was saying. I had the same library card verification thing, and it got all resolved. It was that UHLS, like you were saying, Peg. So that got resolved pretty quickly. So I'm curious about the Zoom programming that you're talking about. Part of the reason why I ask is I work for the state for mental health. And so a lot of our mental health clinics are trying to engage kids, especially, the adults are a little easier to engage, but I'm just curious, what kinds of Zoom programming are you doing?
Oh, well, really, you name it. Some exercise programming, some live music programming. One of my favorite things is we're doing resume help. So if anybody needs to get their resume spruced up, you can sign up. They're limited. The spaces are limited, but they're there. We also have tutors. We've had a really great program. God, for as long as I've been a librarian, so 20 years, we've had a really great program with Albany Pharmacy. We're actually doing that through Zoom as well. So they're doing tutoring through Zoom. Story times are happening. Art, we have these really neat art programs where you can actually come do curbside pickup. You pick up all your supplies, and then you go home and you do the art program over Zoom. So if you go to the Albany Public Library website, all of our Zoom programming is there. My only warning is that these programs fill up really quickly.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, Zach? Yeah. I want to say am I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. What you're saying, the virtual programs, they are wonderful.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I go to that Tuesday book talks, and they are organizing very well. And also the craft thing, and they're teaching how to use the used T-shirts and make it into string and knit and all kinds of things. It's just wonderful what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Deborah had a question.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm just curious if you know where you fall on like the vaccine schedule.
We don't.
I mean, you
we don't.
provide
So,
such essential services, folks who use you for the internet, for job searching, for education.
So I've been pretty vocal, but I've been very well behaved this go around. We have gotten no advice from the state. We're under state ed. We have gotten no advice, nothing from the state. Honestly, we've gotten really no help from our state association either. I spoke with the state association's president a couple of days ago, and I said, every time I read something you guys publish, you would think we weren't operating in a pandemic.
Right.
So we've been kind of flying blind. To be honest, you all should be proud of your library. Our continuation of service plan is kind of the modeled continuation of service plan around the state. So we were kind of the leaders in this. We were kind of laughed at in the beginning, and then all of a sudden we were getting phone calls and going, "Wow, you all were right. How are you, moving forward?" So another thing that I'm really angry about, and I voiced my opinions to elected officials, is the fact that no, we're not on any vaccination list. I can tell you over the summer that the mayor told us that we were an essential service and that we should be, that we should think about opening. My response was, thank you. I love working with the city, but we're a separate agency. And I have said that to all the elected officials that if they really want their library fully open, my frontline staff, I'm not advocating for me. I would love to get vaccinated so I could go back to doing jujitsu with Joe. But my frontline staff, facilities, our security, our clerks, our librarians who are doing story time, they all need to be vaccinated. We are not on any vaccination schedule whatsoever. About a week ago, the New York Library Association, they put out a statement trying to get us in, I think, 1B. I'm advocating for 1C. I don't want to be ahead of the police. I don't want to be ahead of the EMTs, but I think we need to be there sometime soon. I've been told that they're going to take us into consideration, but for right now, there's no tangible response. So yeah, it's
I think
disappointing.
that's very disappointing.
It's disappointing. The pressure we have gotten from elected officials to be open has been surprising, considering that we haven't been considered. When the list came out, I looked and I'm like, yeah, we're not on here. My mom called me yesterday and was like, oh, you probably got vaccinated already. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? And she goes, well, we figured you're frontline. And I'm like, no.
But even though you're under state ed and you can't be rolled in somehow with the teachers.
State ed has sent a great plan for schools to the library listserv, a great plan for community colleges to the statewide listserv. Nothing. There has been no actual guidance from state ed, Department of Library, and Department of Library Development at all about how we should be operating in a pandemic, and definitely no advocating for getting library staff vaccinated.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
and we should all be talking about that and making sure that folks realize that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Scott, I think I'm jogging my memory. Was it last year when the library forgave the late fees? Is that still in effect?
Yes, we went fine-free in January, and that was just a policy decision. So that's never going away. That as long as I'm director, maybe another director comes in the future. But that's a trend nationally. There was just a really good article about Chicago's been doing it a little bit longer than we have, and they actually saw better returns on their items. I could do a whole presentation on why fine-free is the best way for libraries to go. But it does not impact return rate. It actually, in some library case studies, it improves returns because people aren't embarrassed to come back to the library.
That's great. Makes sense. That's good. Does anybody else have any questions? So Scott, I know you're locked in for Cana in May. I don't know if you got the thumbs up on that yet, but
yes.
We'll see it. We'll see you in Cana back in May, forward in May. So
excellent. And I have to go to my foundation meeting next. So
great.
I gotta run. I usually hang out, but I can't tonight.
Hey Scott, thanks very much. We really appreciate all the work you do for our libraries. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I'll let the staff know the positive feedback that I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Scott. Okay, we have Lieutenant McDade, Officer Wallace, and Officer Biette. How are you, gentlemen? Do we have some updates for our neighborhood or neighborhoods?
How are you guys? I'm Justin Wallace, Community Service Liaison. So I was just going to talk about, can you guys hear me? Yep, good. So what I noticed was an increase in theft from motor vehicle in the areas. So Uptown is getting hit pretty good right now. In the last 3 to 4 weeks, I can see over 10 reports filed. Officer Biette told me about Danker Village Apartments. There were several reports there taken. There was another complex where there was 5 reports taken. I think that was Tyrone Court, maybe, apartments. There's several all over Uptown that for motor vehicles. So I just wanted to remind everybody, make sure your car doors are locked, the exterior lights are on the outside of the house, take all your valuables out of your cars. It could be one person, it could be several people. Every once in a while, we have this rash that pops up in one area, and right now it's Uptown. So we're looking into that, and we have increased patrols there. And I've been calling everybody that's been making reports to just, let them know the basics, turn the lights on, lock the cars, take your valuables out. But other than that, I have nothing much to report. I'm not sure if Lieutenant McDade has anything, or Biet to follow up with.
No problem. Good. Thank you, Justin.
Yep. So if anyone has any questions on that, or if you've noticed or been affected by that.
Now, I had a question for you. I think I saw in the Ring Next Door app, there was a break into a garage on Frost Street. Did you gentlemen have a recollection of that?
Which street was that?
Frost?
It did not pop up. I've been doing some stuff, getting some crime stats. I didn't see that report. If it was just taken, then I apologize. I can look it up and get back to you, Zach.
Okay. I know it was at like 2 something in the morning. I think the guy caught it on his camera.
Okay. Like I said, if anyone has video cameras, I encourage you guys to call us. If you guys have anyone suspicious or they're trying to try the handles on your cars, always call us, let us know. And our detectives might want that video, because it's most likely one person or persons that know each other that are committing these things. And it's usually solved pretty easily once the detectives start looking into them. We can pick these people up. But like I said, if you guys see someone suspicious in your neighborhood, you guys know who belongs and who doesn't belong. So when you see that person that just makes you think they don't belong, call us. And you can call the 438-4000 number. That goes right to APD dispatchers instead of calling 911. And they'll alert the nearest patrol car to come over, and we can stop that person and question them and kind of get a feel of what they're doing and who they are. And that helps us out solving the other larcenies and theft from motor vehicles. I'm going to put that up in the chat room too, the phone number to call when you guys see someone suspicious. And like I said, we're going to be upping the patrols in the area, Uptown, and just be vigilant, and people see you and they'll move on, or we're going to catch them. So these things, we just got to stay vigilant on them.
Hey, Zach, which neighborhood associations are in the cooperative?
So it's Eagle Hill, Beverwick, Melrose, Upper Washington Avenue, and Pine Bush. Does anybody have any questions?
Zach, I have a question, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I was just wondering if there is any specific response to the uptick in, or the continued violence, especially with gun violence, that's starting to creep over into like the Washington Ave area. I know last week we lost a 23-year-old young man. And I was just wondering, what is the police response going to be right now? Because, we've seen an uptick in shootings all summer, and now we're into the winter, and it still seems like it's going on back and forth. So I am pretty concerned about that. I'm an educator in the area, and it touches home because a lot of the young people I work with are siblings, cousins, or relatives of the people who are getting shot.
So I'll hit that. I appreciate the question, sir. So in the area, the shooting over there in Pine Hills, that was obviously a tragedy. We're investigating it. Our detectives are working very hard investigating all the shooting incidents we have. We have a really fantastic detective division, and they do solve a lot of the crimes. They have a pretty high solvability rate for our shot fires and shootings. So they're working diligently on that. As far as patrol officers are upping the patrols in the areas. My beat cops are we're walking the beat more in that area. Officer Aquaviva walked the beat with the chief and Councilman Owusu. in the area of that homicide that you're talking about, just to kind of show the people that were out there, engage the people. I was recently appointed to the Common Council's Violence Prevention Task Force. So we're just starting to meet now. We're meeting twice a month. So we're in the infant stages of that right now, where we're going to try to develop some plans through that task force to see if we can help the Auburn Police Department come up with some ideas here. But trust us, we are working very hard in all those cases.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have Lieutenant McDade. Up next to the Pine Bush station near the Home Depot, there's a bunch of concrete barricades that were dropped there. And there's a lot of shopping carts that are piling up because people can't get past the concrete barricade. Do we know why those are there?
I don't, but I would happily look into that for you. So you're saying
Yeah,
you're at the substation there?
Basically there's elderly folks that live near there that can't get through with their shopping carts. Now there's like 20 shopping carts because they can't get through. So I don't know why the barriers are there, and if they're not really serving, they don't seem like they're serving a purpose at the moment.
Are they actually at the Pine Bush Police Station, that road, that access road there?
That little access road, there's several barriers lining it, and then there's one that's like dropped, boom, right in the middle.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Let me look into that for you, and I'll see if I can find out about that.
I think the main focus was to stop vehicle traffic going through there. They had that steel arm that went across, but vehicles kept driving on the grass to go around it, to go down that roadway. So those were dropped, obviously, to stop vehicle traffic. I don't think they're there to stop pedestrian traffic. And I'm not sure if it's completely blocked off, or I know a lot of people shop and then they take the carts and then they'll go back to the senior living, whether they leave them there or they take them. I know they're collected there most times, and those shopping plazas do have people that go by and collect those carts, and they get paid to do so. But if folks can't get through there at all with the carts, it could be a thing, but I don't think they're supposed to be taking the carts off property anyway also. But we can look into that,
So you think that the carts that Zach is seeing, they're there by design? People are purposely bringing them there, leaving them there, and using them going back and forth. So it's not that they can't get through.
Well, they're using them obviously to bring their goods back to their home, wherever they're staying. But they are leaving the carts on the exterior there. They've always done that. But I know the concrete pillars you're talking about, they were there to stop vehicle traffic from going through. Okay. Just because they don't want that to be a throughway there, for cars and trucks.
I guess.
But the pedestrian traffic should be able to get through there. I don't know if we could look into it to widen it up a little bit so a shopping cart could get through there, but that's kind of counterproductive for the shopping plaza. I'm sure they wouldn't, appreciate that people taking their carts off property.
I don't know how big the gap is that's left there, but
I haven't gone up there. I know they're there because I shop there and I go to West Station often, so I know about it.
I guess we found out, Zach.
I don't know who dropped them, but I'm
Probably
guessing it was the city of Albany, obviously.
Probably DGS.
Right.
Orchestrated by Bill Trudeau.
Anybody else have any questions for the Albany Police?
Zach, I just want to remind everyone, just to piggyback off what Justin said with the car larcenies, when we start to see the uptick in car larcenies, a lot of these larcenies that are happening are just people simply leaving their cars and their vehicles unlocked. So I don't think too many of these have been any type of smash and grab where they're damaging property. So just, be diligent and just remember, just lock the car doors. If they're checking handles and the car's open, then they're rummaging through the vehicles. But if they're locked, they just move on. Not to say that that's okay, but it'll prevent you from having things taken or stolen and having to go through a headache of canceling things if they are taken on you. The other thing for the one gentleman that Lieutenant McDade just responded to in Pine Hills area, I was in a meeting earlier today with Councilman Owusu and Luke from up SUNY Albany and a couple other members from the community. They're trying to find ways to chip in and participate, whether it be signage or their own personal video surveillance to set up, because the city has not put any intersection cameras up that way. There's only two, and they're not really focused on the area where there's been criminal activity and the violence going on. So right now was the first meeting earlier today, and they're going to meet again in February and try to come up with a plan where everyone can work together and try to squash a lot of this violence that we're seeing over that way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Zach?
Go ahead, Jack.
Hi, I just wanted to just take a second to thank the officers for the service. You guys have a tough job. Sometimes it's a dangerous job even, but it's an important job that the community needs, and we support you and know that you're working through some tough times right now. So for me, and I'm sure from everybody on the call, we really thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Does anybody else have anything else to bring up tonight? I know we do have a next month. We do have a candidates forum. There's going to be 12 candidates on February 17th. We're co-sponsoring it with the Hildeburg Neighborhood Association and the Park South Neighborhood Association. So that's going to be exciting. And then March we have Jordan Carlio Evangelist. He is the head of media and community relations for my alma mater, University of Albany. So he's coming in March. And does anybody have any issues to bring up in the neighborhoods? Anything pressing? Maura?
No, I'm good. I actually was just unmuting to thank you. I feel like these meetings are just so fabulous. M&A folks, we're going to be getting the M&A team is getting together this week to start planning things. So if you have thoughts about what you would like M&A to be addressing specifically to M&A, just send us an email, Pat Doyle or me, and we'll put that on the agenda.
And Melrose is having a joint meeting with Eagle Hill.
Yes.
It's going to be, they're going to have a meet the candidates night for, let's see, the 14th ward. I think Deb Zamer is going to be there. I don't think Celia Evers could make it. And then Ginny Farrell and Tom Hoey.
And that's the 28th, right, Zach?
28th at 7, I think.
Yeah. Are you muted?
Oh, sorry. All right. Does anybody else have anything to add tonight? Hyde, go ahead, Hyde.
Thanks, Zach. Just wanted to let everyone know, I know some people were concerned with new lighting at the Sunoco on Washington and Colvin. So I am working with Rick LaJoy, the building department, to see if they should have had any sort of permitting for those new lights, or if there's any way to tamper them down. I guess I know several neighbors have said that's been a nuisance there. Also wanted to let neighbors know that at the February 1st Common Council meeting, there will be a hearing on the proposed zone change for the two residential properties on Washington Avenue next to the former Key Bank at 2 Colvin. And the proposed zone change is to change those properties from mixed use commercial to residential, which are the current uses of those properties. So just wanted to share that update and thank you for having the meeting.
Great. Thanks a bunch, Hyde. Does anybody else have anything on the brain? No? All right.
Zach, one more.
I've spent my life on Zoom and I still need reminding not to be muted. Two quick questions. Hyde, what was the upshot of the planning committee meeting on the Common Council real quick? And then I have a quick thing about the lights on Sunoco.
Yep. So the planning committee for the council recommended 4-1 to have the zone change. The only the big challenge with the zone change is that the property owners are protesting it. So it requires 12 out of the 15 common council members to vote in favor, or 3/4. So it's kind of a heavy lift, and we're trying to see where the council members are on that vote.
Okay. And that, thank you.
Yep.
And then the question I had was has anybody like reached out directly to the owners of Sunoco? Because they do seem like pretty reasonable people. Are they willing to, or did they feel like they just invested a ton of money in those lights, or? I just didn't know whether somebody had just is it possible that they just don't know what a pain their lights are?
I haven't personally, but I don't
Okay.
know if Zach has. Zach.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty amenable people, and I do think they want to be good citizens in the neighborhood. And it's possible that, rather than, dragging Rick LaJoy and turn it into an adversarial situation, it's possible that they'd be quite willing. They might just be unaware that it's a problem.
Yeah, I guess my first reach out was just if they had gotten the permits and the city was aware of it, then to me, it would kind of be a non-issue, and then go and talk to the property owners. But it's a good point. I think either Mike or Zach may have contact info from the Stewart's development, so maybe I'll work with Zach on that. We can reach out to him.
Yeah, they're just super nice people. So
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good point.
thank you though for dealing as always.
Hey, Zach?
Yeah,
Zach?
Katina. Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Katina.
have a question, and maybe Hyde could speak to this as well. Under the impression that there are not the votes in the Common Council to overturn the reclassification of the one Gary Demolowitz property.
Yeah, I think it's close right now.
Well, can you speak to, there's problems, and just so everybody knows, there's been threats made by Mr. Demolowitz.
So I didn't know about any threats, but just from the conversations in the committee meeting, it sounded like Councilmember Nani was not in favor. Councilmember Joyce Love voted against the recommendation, and Councilmember Igo did not seem to be in favor. So that would be 3. Any other no votes would kill the motion.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Demolowitz, who has a personal interest in the property, I think that should be brought out, has told the council people, if you vote against me, I will primary you. And I really think that's just very untoward, because he stands financially to gain. And I just wanted to bring it to the Uptown neighborhood's attention that this is essentially dirty pool.
Thanks for raising that, and then I'd like to hear offline, kind of, who you heard that from, and go from there.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not opposed to development. I'm not opposed, but when you stand to gain financially yourself, and you threaten people in the 13th, 14th, 15th ward, that's a problem.
Yeah, no, certainly an issue. And just the background for anybody that doesn't know, the 2 residential properties were proposed to be demolished as part of the Stewart's development. And part of the reason it was denied is that the planning board felt it was inconsistent with the neighborhood to have a commercial expansion on those 2 properties. So working with Councilman O'Brien, we felt that it was more appropriate for these properties to be zoned residential as opposed to mixed use commercial, which would be more consistent with the Washington Ave corridor. But certainly would like to talk with you more about that. And anybody that's in favor of the zone change, I would ask sign up to speak at that council meeting on February 1st.
I guess one other thing just to bring up is that Westland Hills looks like it's getting some new equipment later this year. So Right Heights in the early stages. I think we're targeting like possibly a ribbon cutting, in August, was it?
Yeah, I think maybe. And I know that Parks will do a presentation before the equipment's purchased, I think, if I remember the emails. But we should probably see if he would come to an Uptown meeting as well. to do a presentation.
I think Rosemont Park's getting something too, right, Laura? Do you know?
I'm not aware. Something we could ask Jenny.
I think I saw it. I think I saw it was one of the first ones that went up. There was a conceptual design.
Well, I mean, I know something's been in the hopper for quite some time. I think I was assuming that there wouldn't be money for it, but you know what they say about assuming.
Well, that'll be exciting, and we'll make sure we get some input from all the neighbors. So that's exciting. And
Did Hyde say, is that the West Hill Land Park?
yes, yep.
What equipment are we getting?
I believe it'll be playground equipment for the kids.
Oh, okay.
Zach, if you just want to make a note of the Pine Bush meeting also.
Yeah, hold on one second. Yeah, there's going to be a Pine Bush neighborhood meeting. Let me check real quick. That's going to be coming up later. February 10th at 7:00. And Hyde, were you going to reach out to the Pine Bush folks?
Yeah, the goal is to have somebody from the Pine Bush be there. Yep.
So Zach, can I
Yes.
ask you about the entrance to the park from the Calvin? Is that Anthony Street? Is that the owner who want to build the building and wanted to make it one way? Remember we were talking about it last time?
Yes.
Yeah. So if that happens, then people one way out or one way in.
No, the design is a one-way out, right turn only onto Anthony Street, I believe. Is that right, Hyde? Yeah.
So that means people want to enter the park would either go from Zor or from the this dead end streets, which is the Jermaine, Victor, Breveter, and Rosemont. We have those dead end going to the park. So people would park on our street, the dead end street, and go to the park that way. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll comment. So the proposal would not shut down access and exit for anyone else. That Anthony Street would still be open for patrons to enter the park from that entrance. But I think your concern is that with more traffic coming from 60 Colvin, that people may try to use some of the other access points into the park. And I think that's a valid concern, but it's
Yeah.
not that they're shutting down the access for the park by allowing that. But, we are looking at whether that was an alienation of parkland by granting that. So we will keep everyone posted on that.
Yeah, thank you. Because right now, only people who walk their dogs going through our streets. But if the people park their car there, then there's no space because we park our cars on the streets. Because every house has only a one car garage. So usually 2, 3 more cars are parking on the streets ourselves.
Well, we'll definitely keep you posted as that progresses, that development project.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else going on?
Hey, Zach, Danny from APD. I just wanted to, you're mentioning Colvin Ave. I just wanted to mention 67 Colvin, the empty lot that Armory owns behind Hannaford. We were able to get the homeless guy out of there. They've got that cleaned up now, and we got him services, and he's working right now with St. Joseph's House over in Troy, and Hattis is working with him right now to get him an apartment. He's been approved, and hopefully sooner than later he'll have his apartment. He'll be all set up, but he's definitely out of that parking lot, and the things are cleaned up. The dumpsters are just waiting to be picked up.
Could we ascertain how long he had been there?
Yeah, so he was there beginning of summer, late May, early June, and it became an issue with the Armory not wanting to look like the bad person and trying to get rid of a homeless squatter off their property, and they didn't want bad publicity, and the city ended up fining them because of the clutter that was on the property. We were able to get that lifted and the fine redacted, and we were able to get him the help that he needed to get out of there, and Army was able to get the dumpsters in and get everything cleaned up. So everything worked out in the long run.
Yeah, that was a tough situation. It was yeah, there was a lot of weirdness there.
And it was but for his sake, it worked out. The homeless guy worked out well for him. So
Yeah, it
It
sounds like a great resolution. Thank you.
Yeah,
no-
resolution. Poor man out in the cold.
All right. Is there anything else tonight? I think we're good. As always, folks, thank you very, very much for joining us, and I will see you all February 17th.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.